delayed. Unfortunately, the start is also delayed. The track is dry, I should say, and the start delayed by dint of a late-running Audi Sport TT Cup race, which had an elongated safety car period right at the start of it. So the FIA Formula 3 European Championship cars making their way out onto the track now. And the race yesterday was, well, it was a masterclass from Lando Norris, it has to be said. But the starting order for today sees Jake Hughes, who finished P2 yesterday, going from pole position. Then it's Callum Ilott, going from P2, the Prema driver. And then Lando Norris going from P3. The result from race 1 then, Norris, Hughes and Mawson. A very good result for Joey Mawson yesterday. He's starting from P8 today, but Joey Mawson taking the podium yesterday for P3. And then it was Callum Ilott just off the podium taking P4, but Callum Ilott starting from P2 today. So it's actually quite cold and windy, and former Formula 3 driver alongside me is Alex Toril. You know, when you've only had wet running, which is what the Formula 3 drivers will have had, how difficult is it for somebody like Jake Hughes, going from P1 on the grid for High-Tech GP, to acclimatise himself to what will be different track conditions today?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not easy. You've been driving on wet surface the whole weekend, and you go to the race, and it's all of the sudden dry. So you need to adapt your driving style. Will be new reference brakes, braking points, new speeds, new even gears. So it's there you will see the difference between the really good drivers and the drivers who can adapt quickly to these new conditions, and the one who will take a little bit longer. And for sure, this will space off in the pace of the race. When we see our race winner yesterday, Lando Norris.
Just trying to listen in to what the engineer is saying to him.
Tell him not to use Astro, or don't even use.
Being advised there not to use the Astro, because of course the Astro will still be full of water, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. You still might be a little bit damp, so you need to take care not to run too much over it. So if not, you can easily lose the car. When we see now Tadasuke Makino.
High-Tech GP driver going from P4 on the grid. Now, the qualifying session that took part yesterday, and basically when it comes to Quali 2, it's the fastest time of Quali 2 that sets the grid for this race, Race 2. Race 3 to come right at the end of the day today is formed, or the grid is formed, from the second fastest time of Quali 2. Ferdinand Habsburg going from P5 on the grid. Ferdinand Habsburg then in the number 62 car, who finished race 1 in P6. Here's Ralph Aron, who's going from P6 on the grid for the driver of the number 7 car, who finished P14, a lowly P14 yesterday. And we see another one of the Prema Power Team drivers, Guan Yu Zhu, who is going from P7 on the grid. And Guan Yu Zhu was in the points yesterday, having taken P9. See the Ferrari Driver Academy strip across the visor of Guan Yu Zhu. And then the Van Amersfoort Racing driver, the young Australian that took the ADAC Formula 4 Championship before being elevated into Formula 3. Joey Mawson goes from P8 on the grid. His confidence is buoyed by virtue of the fact that, of course, he took his podium yesterday. I spoke to Joey Mawson at breakfast time today, and he's one of these. It's really interesting, the characters of the drivers. I mean, Joey is always smiling, always cheerful, and there we can see the formation lap is going to start in exactly 5.5 minutes time at 11:05. Really, really different, the character styles of these drivers, Alex. I can remember when you were in F3, you were renowned for always being grumpy. Joey is always cheerful and chipper. You know, someone like Lando Norris is always seemingly always utterly focused. And, you know, they're all very different, aren't they?
Yeah, it's something you grow. You need to grow. You grow only not only professionally. I mean, also let's say as a person, you find many different personalities, and as you come farther and farther onto your career, you develop. You meet more and more people. You meet different people, and it helps you. And also, was like me a few years ago, was totally different as I am now.
Yeah. You were grumpy then.
Yeah.
Max Stefani, we've just seen. He is one of the new drivers into the FIA Formula 3 European Championship for this weekend. As we look at Harrison Newey, look at that focus on the eyes of Harry Newey, the Van Amersfoort racing driver, who is going from P10 on the grid. And then we see the number 99 car of Nikita Mazepin for High-Tech GP. Nikita, another one of those drivers that's focused. Look, the eyes are closed. He's visualising. Oh, well, they're not now, but he was visualising how he would like the start to go. And you know, you really do, when you're sat in the cockpit of those single-seaters, you're almost visualising every metre of the track, aren't you?
Yeah, of course, I do the same when I jump in the car and I have to do qualifying or just before going to the race. I try to visualize the race, the first corners, how I'm going to do the start. It's a little bit different some points for me because sometimes I need to take the car. I don't have the time to visualize anything because it's just after the driver change, jump in the car and go, and no time for a pre-grid or something like this. But even before jumping in the car, you're sitting on a chair and you're thinking, okay, driver change, what you need to do, the bells, the radio, and all. So you try to a little bit anticipate yourself and put yourself already in a situation where the situation you will face during the race.
What can we say about this man? Maximilian Günther, he was championship leader for a long, long while. He really appears to have gone off. He's starting from P15 on the grid. And Maximilian Günther yesterday finished out of the points P13. As a driver, do you sit there and you think, oh no, I can see the championship being wrestled away from me here?
Yeah, of course, it's not easy. Like you said, you're the whole year in the front, fighting in the front, and then all of a sudden you are losing some performance or some momentum into the championship, and it's not easy. But this is also a difference between the strong drivers and other drivers, that the strong ones are able to get away with it, put themselves into position where they say, okay, but I had a few bad races, but it's not the end, so try to push and try to recover what you've lost. And we've seen this already many times, and for sure you probably even more than me, drivers which were in a certain position or really close at the end of the championship, not a good position, then they recovered and so they even end up winning the championship. So for sure I think it's nothing close yet.
Talking to Maximilian Günther, he was saying yesterday, just couldn't get seemingly the grip in the wet weather tyres in qualifying or the race that he was expected. I mean, you know, do wet weather tyres have to be turned on in the same way that slicks do, Alex?
Yeah, you need to. I mean, weather tires is even at some points even harder than slick tires, because slick tires you have a temperature range, but they have to work pretty much. You have a tire pressure, but weather tires, at the end of the day, they should also get warm. If you don't manage to get wet tires up to a certain temperature, it will also not work. So it's really hard. It depends on the amount of water, the pressure you need to put on the tires, so the air in the inside is heating, so the pressure is right. So the tires, so it's not easy, or it's not easier than a slick tire. I would say even harder to manage to have a good setup for a wet tire.
Well, whatever it was, couldn't seemingly get the grip out of the tires. So Jake Hughes then in car number 34 then, going from pole position. Jake Hughes driving for the High-Tech GP team. And, you know, he's had a number of podiums, a number of P2s, hasn't yet had the win. So if Jake Hughes could take that, he would be a delighted man on the top step of the podium in some 33 minutes plus 1 lap's time. Callum Eilert to the left-hand side of your picture there, goes from P2 on the grid, and the grid here, the inside line is the ideal line going into turn 1. And with the offset grid here, pole position is actually on the outside, but a car's length ahead or thereabouts. So the cars will be released on their formation lap in 15 seconds time from now. You can see the gantry clock to the right-hand side of your screen, and the cars will be released and off on their formation lap, which will be apart from the drive to the grid, it will be the first time that the drivers have experienced a 3.629 kilometre circuit in dry conditions this weekend. 11 turns, 7 of them right-handers, 4 of them are left-handers. It's a smooth and flat surface here at the Nürburgring, and medium stress on the construction of the tyres. And actually, how relevant is it, Alex, that it's actually quite cold today, and therefore, does that mean that it takes longer to, or you have to be even more aggressive in terms of generating that temperature into the tyres?
Yeah, for sure. You need to put a lot of effort in warming up your tires, in waving and throttle and brake, so you can put temperature in the tire, because the day is quite cold. The sun is starting to shine now, so this will bring some more temperature into the tarmac, but it's not as hot as a tire needs. So you need to really work on the tires.
Hughes, Eilert, front row. Norris, Makino. Then it's Habsburg, Ahrens, Zhu, Mawson, Deforney, one of the new drivers this weekend. Then it's Newey and Mazepin. And then Darivala. Fenestra, another one of the new drivers this weekend. Sato, Gunter, PK, Ericsson, Beckman, Vad Janathan, Schumacher, Andres, and Floresco. The three new drivers this weekend. Then Fenestra, the brother-in-law of Argentina's three-time World Touring Car champion, Jose Maria Lopez. He's current Formula Renault 2-litre Euro Cup leader. Max Deforney, of course, competes in the same championship. He's currently P4 in the standings there. And Florescu contests this year's Euro Formula Open and is P8 in that championship. There is the track layout. Then it's the sprint version of the Nürburgring circuit. And it's 33 laps. It's 33 minutes plus 1 lap. And a bit of gravel there on the exit of the Coca-Cola turn, just as they make their way down the start-finish straight to get into their grid boxes and prepare for the race number 2 of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship here. And there you can see the air temperature, a miserly 11.7 degrees, and we're only 3 degrees higher for track temperature, 14.6 degrees, as Jake Hughes then makes his way into his grid box, and Lando Norris, the car behind. Lando Norris, of course, having taken the win in dominant style yesterday. Callum Eilert there in the number 53 car. He goes from P2 on the grid. Callum has had some 4 wins in the championship so far this year, and will be fancying his chances going into turn 1, I would think. We await the green flag from the marshal at the rear. There he is. Once all the cars are in the grid box, here we go. Let's get the start procedure underway. The lighting gantry you can see on screen. Once we have 5 red lights and they're extinguished, we will be racing. The engine note rises, so too the anticipation and the excitement. Good start from Lando Norris, good start from Jake Hughes as well, who blocks off that inside line going into turn 1. Lando Norris slots himself into that P3 position. Now it's a real pinch point here, turn number 1. We hope all the cars can go through without problems, and seemingly they make their way towards turn number 2, and it looks, there's a couple of stragglers that didn't get away very well, but it looks like all the cars have made their way through. See the number 99 car of Nikita Mazepin on his way to turn number 3 now, but Jake Hughes leading Callum Eilert, Ferdinand Habsburg under some pressure from the number 7 car of Ralph Aron. Ralph Aron and Ferdinand Habsburg fighting together there. And they make their way downhill now, as you can see. But Jake Hughes did everything absolutely right at the start there. He covered off that inside line from Callum Eilert. Callum Eilert having no chance to try and convert that P2 into P1. They make their way down the back straight now. Around the back of the paddock here, heading towards the NGK chicane for the first time of asking. So the cars all go through. It always amazes me in these super sophisticated single-seaters just how much curb you take. A number of drivers shortcutting the chicane there.
I think it's Joey Mawson.
Joey Mawson was certainly one of them. It was Harrison Newey, another one. The Van Amersfoort drivers there. And Callum Eilert now is being reeled in a little bit by Lando Norris. Look at them all hugging the wall as they head in towards turn number 1.
So Joey Mawson just behind of his both teammates. They're getting past now. Oh, also coming all around the outside is the
Harrison Newey leading that pack at the moment, and
Nikita Mazepin.
Nikita Mazepin is also in that mix as well. And this is all going on for P8s, 9s, 10s, etc. But there is P1, 34, Jake Hughes. He's in the lead. Guan Yu Zhu there in the number 8 car. This is the big battle in it. Harrison Newey, Joey Mawson, then it's Nikita Mazepin. And where is Maximilian Gunter in all of this? The all-pink car of the BWT colours. Maximilian Gunter desperately needing to get into the points if he possibly can. There you can see Callum Eilert is now being reeled in, as I mentioned, by Lando Norris, who's ever closer to Callum Eilert. But Jake Hughes is escaping up the road and is increasing his margin of comfort as diving up the inside there goes the number 7 car of Ralph Aron on Ferdinand Habsburg. Wow, what an overtake that was. Going into the NGK chicane, just took the inside line and was able to go through. Oh, and we've got a car off now. So the K Van Andrews car was involved in that. But now Lando Norris and also off is that Marino Sato car. That was the car that we saw at the exit of the chicane. So Marino Sato then for the Moto Park team. Here's Lando Norris on Callum Islet. It's a change for P2. Lando Norris does go through. Well, he'd really got much, much closer to Callum Islet and he just spotted his opportunity there. Hopefully we'll get a replay of the actual overtake. We saw Lando Norris going through. Callum Islet relegated to P3. And now the fight is on for Lando Norris to try and get on terms with Jake Hughes, who's 1.7 seconds up the road. He's built up a reasonable margin. But Alex Torrio will keep an eye on the lap times for us and he'll be able to tell us sector by sector whether Lando Norris is quicker than Jake Hughes. Already he's left Callum Islet in his wake to a degree. Here it comes then. No, this is the incident at the NGK chicane then, where we saw, and there you can see the number 33 car of Marino Sato then getting very sideways and clattering into the side of K Van Andres, the Moto Park driver. And this was Lando Norris and did it through the inside, didn't he, at turn 2?
Yeah, perfectly spot the gap and went straight for it. Brilliant overtaking maneuver by Lando Norris. Also, he prepared it. You see, this track is really hard. You need to prepare your overtaking maneuver 1 or 2 corners in advance. So we'll see now the pace of Lando Norris compared to Jake Hughes.
I'd have loved to have seen the Ferdinand Habsburg Ralph Aron overtake again in replay because that was great as well. There is Ferdinand Habsburg, then is P7. So Lando Norris, there's Callum Islet, Makino is P4. So Lando Norris then with Jake Hughes 2.3 seconds now up the road. So Lando Norris then, who leading the championship. The incident between the K Van Andrews car and the Marino Sato car is being noted by race control. Through the kink then turn number 8 as they head towards the NGK chicane. There's our race leader going through. Here comes P2, P3, 4 and P5 is Guan Yu Xiu, the Prema Power Team driver. So Jake Hughes rounds the Coca-Cola turn and let's see what the live gap is between the two of them. It's come down by 1/10. So it was 2.3, it's now 2.2. So Lando Norris not exactly on a charge yet, but I think last lap, obviously, by dint of the fact that the margin has come down by 1/10, Lando Norris was quicker than Jake Hughes.
Yeah, it was the fastest lap of the race now for Lando Norris. We'll see now he has a little bit of clean air and he's pulling a gap between him and Callum Islet. So we'll see how he can, how much he can push, and I'm really looking for the sector times, and let's keep spotting if the gap comes closer.
Well, he's got plenty of time to do it. There's 26.5 minutes of the race remaining plus 1 lap. So there we can see the number 96 car of Joey Mawson running in P8, Harrison Newey in the points P9, Nikita Mazepin P10. There is Maximilian Günther out of the points again. Crucially at the moment is P14. Ahead of him he has the car of Max Deforny and Gian Daravala and Joel Eriksson. And as I said, Nikita Mazepin in the number 99 car is the final points payer at the moment, who's being chased down by Joel Eriksson and Gian Daravala. So Maximilian Günther, who for the first time this weekend is wearing overalls and race suit, the same colour as his car now in the all pink livery. So they cross the timing line again, and Norris has taken actually Hughes now. The margin between Hughes and Norris is 2.5 seconds. Last lap Jake Hughes was some tenths quicker than Lando Norris, I think.
Yeah, it was really good in the sector 1 and sector 2. faster than...
Oh, Guan Yu Zhu is out. Sorry for interrupting you. So Guan Yu Zhu, who was running in P5, is spun around or has spun around. Hopefully we'll get a replay to see what happened there. And Guan Yu Zhu now battling with Max
Probably went on the
Deforny.
AstroTurf, wet, lost the car. Yeah, exactly.
Now that's exactly what the engineer was saying to Lando, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Keep off the Astro, because the Astro, it sucks the water in from the rain that we've had over the last few days.
It's really common here on Nürburgring to see this. You have a dry track, even sunshine, but the AstroTurf has the water, a lot of water from yesterday, and there you go. As soon as you drive on it, the car goes off. We see Maxi Günther now on the outside of Max Deforny. Max Deforny closing the door, defending his position. Really struggle for Maxi Günther to get past when we see now the gaps goes 2.6, 1/10 higher, 1/10 more for JQ, so he's actually increasing his gap compared to Lando Norris.
What we have seen, though, from Lando Norris is when he's in a position like this, he'll race hard, but he'll realise that actually sometimes it's better to bank what you've got, isn't it? As we see Beckman here, and the number 5 car of Pedro Piquet, the Van Amersfoort racer, up against the David Beckman car then. And 55 then, and Pedro Piquet. Oh, this is a great shot as we can really get some example of the speed of these FIA Formula 3 European Championship cars. Interestingly, behind Maximilian Günther now in P15 is Mick Schumacher, of course new into the FIA Formula 3 European Championship this year, and the number 55 car there of Beckman. So cars down the back straight through turn number 8, which is that kink, which is taken absolutely flat. Harrison Newey for Van Amersfoort Racing, running in P8. Ahead of him, another Van Amersfoort driver, Joey Mawson. So Hughes P1, Norris P2, Eiler P3, then it's Makino, Aaron, Ferdinand Habsburg, Joey Mawson P7. P8 is, as I mentioned, Harrison Newey. And here Nikita Mazepin and Joel Eriksson side by side. Joel Eriksson to the inside. Should get past Nikita Mazepin here. And also trying to come into that battle is Jehan Daruvala. So a good setup overtake there from Joel Eriksson, the Swedish racer, in car number 1, who finds himself now in P9. This then on the outside of Mick Schumacher is Sasha Fenestra, the Carlin driver, out onto the Astro, grass, dirt, painted lines, you name it, and ending up shortcutting the chicane.
Oh, behind was...
Now that's the number 21 car, isn't it, of Amaya Vadyanathan. So that was Joel Eriksson once again, and also trying to take advantage there was Jehan Daruvala, just trying to go through on the inside, but was denied by Nikita Mazepin. But it was a good overtake from Joel Eriksson, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Squeezed a little bit. Nikita Mazepin let him room, but the minimum possible, and dive for the inside. Classic overtake maneuver here at the Nürburgring.
It's a Nürburgring is, you know, there are only 1 or 2 places where an overtake really can happen, aren't there?
Yeah, as you said, it's not many places, but it depends a little bit, because if you force the mistake of your opponent, then you can really, you have some chances in many corners. It's just about how you prepare. Like I was saying before, it's a racetrack where you cannot really go and pass a driver. You need to prepare it really well. So we still see Maxi Günther right behind Max Deforny, struggling to pass the Belgian driver.
Yes, and Maxi Günther is still in a position where he is not banking any points, where, of course, Lando Norris in that P2 position is reinforcing his lead at the top of the championship if everything stays the way it is at the moment. So there is Mick Schumacher then in the number 25 car, being engineered, of course, by Prema Power Team. Mick Schumacher is currently running in P15. So down the back straight they come then. And Nikita Mazepin, Jehan Daruvala. And Daravala then, who's on a bit of a mission, isn't he? Looking pretty feisty in this race. Finds his way past
I think he got past Nikita Mazepin.
Yes, absolutely. Has got past and moves himself up another position. So Daravala is in the points now, running in P10, and Nikita Mazepin relegated to P11. Guan Yu Zhu is P12. Then it's that Max Deforny and Maximilian Günther affair ahead of Mick Schumacher and Sasha Fenestra. Here's a replay of the start then, and Jake Hughes did everything just right, didn't he?
He did a really good start. He came really good off. I have to say also Callum Ilott did a really good start. So none of the driver stalled, or let's say got stuck at the start. And here we see one car, I think by Anathem, got they fall a little bit slip on the light.
Is there an anti-stall on these cars? Is that
no, it's all manual by the driver.
Right.
You have the clutch on the left foot, and you have the handbrake.
Yeah.
Works like for example, a rally car. It preloads the car.
Yes.
And then you can launch it as soon as the lights are off. We see now again Joey Mawson passing.
That was
Harrison Newey, both.
Harrison Newey, both of them.
Harrison Newey.
And that's a real heart-in-the-mouth moment for Van Amersfoort, isn't it? Because they're both Van Amersfoort drivers. Joey Mawson having to use some opposite lock to control the car over the grass. This is super slow-mo of our race leader, Jake Hughes, who actually lifts the front of the car off the ground. The curbs almost launching the car, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a lot of opposite camber in this corner. It's a really big drop in corner 1.
Well, Jake Hughes is extending his lead at the front now. It's some 3.2 seconds and consistently lapping quicker than Lando Norris. A 1:21.777 for Hughes last time around, whereas Lando Norris a 1:21.855. There is Lando Norris that's running in P2. He can sense, though, and this is probably sensible driving for Lando Norris. 18 points is, a nice points haul, particularly when, as I said, his arch rival in the championship, Maximilian Günther, at the moment, who is running in P14, is out of the points. So
I think we should not lose an eye on Makino, because it's getting closer to Callum Ilott.
Okay.
I think the gap has been reduced a little bit in the last lap. So it's only now 1.1 seconds behind the Prema Power Team driver.
So Lando Norris then, who won in the dreadful conditions yesterday, currently running in P2. Jake Hughes leading the race with some 3.2 seconds to the good. Is 17.5 minutes plus 1 lap of the race that's still to come in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship Race 2. There is Callum Ilott, who's currently running P3, but as Alex alongside me has said, Tadazuke Makino is getting ever closer to Callum Ilott. So at the moment his podium position is not assured. So Callum Ilott then, as I say, engineered by the Prema Power Team. Maximilian Günther in the number 3 car there, having got past Max Deforny. We didn't see the overtake live, but Maxi Günther and Mick Schumacher now with the Max Deforny car ahead of him. So Mick Schumacher, another one of the Prema Power Team drivers, with Beckman right behind him, and then it's Piquet behind Beckman. And here, absolutely side by side, the number 15 car of Max Deforny and the number 37 machine of Fenestra. So 2 drivers new into the FIA Formula 3 European Championship this weekend. So Maxi Günther 3 places away from being in the points, but Mick Schumacher may be able to take advantage of this little battle between the 2 of them here, because as they run in towards turn number 1, Mick Schumacher, king of the late breakers, on the wide outside there, and someone with a daredevil move up the inside. David Beckman tries it, and will try on the inside now through turn 2, but he's not able to do so. And out onto the Astro, and that's a disaster for the number 15 car of Max Deforny, because you lose all grip and momentum, and could also lose out to Beckman. Beckman does go through and has the Pedro Piquet car right alongside. So Pedro Piquet on the inside now. Deforney on the outside. They're side by side. A quick glance at each other. And David Beckman ahead for the moment of Piquet. And then also the Max Deforney car there, car number 15, on the back of that little trio now. So Beckman brakes, turns into the chicane. The exit of that chicane sometimes is where you just start to set up an overtake move. Guan Yu Zhu is going to be feeling the pressure of Maximilian Günther as they go into turn number 1. Maximilian Günther really seemingly beginning to get his mojo back again now. So Guan Yu Zhu brakes, both of them, of course, Prema Power Team drivers. 14.5 minutes plus 1 lap of the race remaining. So Maximilian Günther will see the opportunity to at least get into the lower end of the top 10 in the remaining 14 minutes of this race, potentially. And that's exactly what he needs to do to try and bank as at least some points. It'll be scant reward he'll feel for his weekend's effort, but there is another race to come, of course, later today. There's Lando Norris, untroubled in P2, and last time around, where did Jake Hughes? Lost a little bit, lost a couple of tenths to Lando Norris.
Yeah, when we see Makino, it's getting tiny bit, little bit by little bit, but closer and closer to Callum Elliott. Now that gap is not even a second, so 0.9 tenths. So it's lapping each lap around 1.5 tenths faster than Callum Elliott. So we still have 30 minutes to go, around 11 laps. We see Maximilian Günther passing his teammate Guan Yu Zhu. Not many difficulties.
No, that wasn't made too difficult for him, was it? So Maximilian Günther does go through on Guan Yu Zhu. That means that Maximilian Günther now is up to P12. And here, as I said, that wasn't too heavily defended by Guan Yu Zhu. Both of them driving for the Prema Power Team. Oh, this is a super slow-mo shot in replay then, as car bounces over the curbs there. Tadasuke Makino, who is chasing down Callum Elliott. This is our race leader, Jake Hughes. 2.9 seconds to the good as he rounds the Coca-Cola turn and heads towards the timing line. It was 2.9 seconds between himself and Lando Norris. It's actually down 3 tenths now. Is Lando, over the final stages of this race, going to think, there's an opportunity here, because he's just begun to bang in those quick laps, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's lapping faster than Jake Hughes in the last lap. The gap was 3.2 seconds, now it's 2.6, so he managed in the last 3 laps to gain around 6 tenths compared to Jake Hughes. So that might mean that the race is not over yet, and we might still see some action between the both drivers. Well, I remember from my time in Formula 3, those Hankook tires, they have a little bit of a peak. So if you really pass the peak of the tire, it can be that you have to start to go on a bit of a drop. So maybe this is happening to Jake Hughes, which is losing a little bit now the momentum of the tire.
Okay.
So he struggles to keep the pace, and maybe Lando took a little bit more care at the beginning of the race of the tire, and now he finds his tire has a little bit more performance.
And that might have been a strategy of his, wasn't it, to push towards the end or the final third of the race. Okay, well, we'll see if that plays out, as we have suggested it might.
Yeah,
another Jake Hughes.
2 tenths in sector 1 and sector 2. Faster for Lando Norris in this lap. Let's see now the final lap time, 1:22.025 for Jake Hughes, 1:21.958 for Lando Norris, so half a tenth almost. So well, it's slightly coming.
Yes, but of course, it's all very well. You can get onto the back of Jake Hughes, but Lando would have to find a way past him as well.
As well, for sure.
So we will see. We've got 10 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap remaining in this race, so just perhaps Alex is right in that Lando just nurtured his tyres a little bit better at the beginning of the race and hasn't pushed them too hard, and perhaps he's just got a little bit of an advantage now in terms of the grip that's offered to him in the final third of this race. Let's see. The order then is Hughes, Norris, Eilert, Makino, Aron, Habsburg. Then it's Mawson, Newey, Ericsson, and Jean Doravala, and Nikita Mazepin. Great sound of these Formula 3 cars as they race down the back of the paddock towards the chicane now, having gone through turn 8. The chicane turns 9, 10. And there, the Lando Norris car, engineered, of course, by the UK squad of Carlin. Lando Norris has been a great advert for Carlin Motorsport in his Formula 3 career. There's Ferdinand Habsburg in the number 62 car, another Carlin driver, and Ferdinand Habsburg currently running in P6. Ahead of him is the Ralph Aron car, which you see centre screen now, the number 7 machine. There's Ferdinand Habsburg. Hughes, Norris, Eilert, Makino, Aaron Habsburg. Joey Mawson finds himself in P7 ahead of his Van Amersfoort stablemate Harrison Newey, who is P8. Then it's Joel Eriksson, Gian Daravala, Nikita Mazepin, Maximilian Gunter. So Ferdinand Habsburg then running in P6.
Yeah, we see now Jake Hughes is answering a little bit the attack from Lando Norris. He increased his pace and is now lapping the same lap time, so the gap between both drivers is remaining by 2.5 seconds. The same a little bit Callum Ilott with Tadasuke Makino. Makino was getting closer up to 9/10, and now he's 1.2 seconds off the British driver, so that means also the Prema Power Team car is answering the attack from Tadasuke Makino.
So there our race leader, Jake Hughes then. And whilst we, the conjecture we've had as to whether perhaps Lando had just nurtured his tyres a little bit better at the start of the race, what could also be true is the fact that Jake Hughes knows he's there and he's just monitoring his pace, isn't he? And he's just doing everything that he needs to do. And when he needs to just bang in a fast lap and just maintain that margin between himself and the P2 driver, he's doing it.
We see now the type difference lap is 18, 17, and 16. The gap was remaining between 2.5 and 2.2 seconds.
Yeah.
Now in the last sector, Jake Hughes lost 4/10 compared to Lando Norris. So, but might be a little bit small of a mistake, or so I think it's nothing to be worried about. Looks like he has the race pretty much under control.
7.5 minutes plus 1 lap, and Harrison Newey in P8 leads Joel Eriksson, that you can see there, and Gian Daravala. There's Nikita Mazepin, Maximilian Gunter, Guan Yu Zhu, Fenestras, Schumacher, Beckman, Piquet, Deforny, Andres Rescue, and Badnayathun running in P21. So they're the number 99 car of Nikita Mazepin, chasing down Gian Daravala. And now, you're absolutely right, Alex Toril, because Makino is all over the gearbox of Callum Ilott. You said this would come good towards the end of the race, because Makino was just slowly, stealth-like, taking time out of Callum Ilott.
That must be a mistake from Callum Ilott, because he lost almost 7/10 in the second sector.
Right.
Compared to Tadasuke Makino, so it must be maybe a small mistake or something. This allowed Tadasuke Makino to come just straight, like you were saying, to the tail of Callum Ilott. And we see also the gap now from Jake Hughes to Lando Norris being closer than ever, 2.1 seconds at the moment. Well, also coming.
We could have a real final flourish at the end of this FIA Formula 3 European Championship race. This is the race for the final podium place, which is being played out by Lando Norris, who is, Callum Ilott, who's currently P3, and Tadasuke Makino, who is P4. And we'll see if Callum Ilott is able to respond here and just turn the wick up a little bit and try and increase the slender margin between himself and Tadasuke Makino as they head towards the chicane now. And there you can see the margin over the last 3 laps, and Callum Ilott fires the Prema car through the chicane. The number 11 car of High-Tech GP's Tadazuke Makino, who's yet to take a podium in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Perhaps over the next 5.5 minutes plus 1 lap, he can sniff the opportunity of making his debut appearance on the podium in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. The thing preventing him from that at the moment, though, is the very, very talented Callum Eilert ahead of him, who occupies that P3 position. Ralph Aron is P5, Ferdinand Habsburg P6, then it's Joey Mawson, Harrison Newey, Joel Eriksson, Daruvala. And Daruvala is currently in the final points-paying place currently. So here in replay, super slow-mo of our race leader, Jake Hughes. We get some fantastic shots through that chicane. Now, Jake Hughes giving us a masterclass on how to exit the chicane. He didn't touch the curb on the outside or the exit of the turn at all. And there, the Lando Norris car that is currently P2. So Eilert has responded a little bit to the charge from Tadazuke Makino and has opened up the gap a little bit between himself and the car that is running in P4. Hughes and Norris now, Alex, down to 1.7 seconds.
Yeah, the gap is getting closer, but as you were saying before, we saw it now with Makino and Callum Eilert. One thing is to get there and to arrive, and we see now a small mistake from Maxi Günther running wide on corner 6. You were saying one thing is getting close and be on the tail of your opponent, but then you need to get past him. And also in this track, this sprint track with such a lot of corners and less straight is hard with this F3, this high sophisticated cars with a lot of downforce. It's really hard to follow. So as soon as you are behind a car, you get the air. You don't get the air for your downforce, so you lose the grip, overall grip in the car.
In replay, that was Fenestrara and Guan Yuzu fighting tooth and nail, and that was good to watch in replay. So, Lando Norris now has got just over 3 minutes plus 1 lap. Jake Hughes beginning to feel the pressure a little bit, perhaps, as they round the Coca-Cola turn.
Yeah, another 2/10 better for Lando Norris in the sector 2. So we start to see also visually, another almost 3/10 in sector 3, so half a second.
What Jake Hughes now needs to do is to remain calm, cool and collected, doesn't he? Because Lando Norris is getting closer, and what would be absolute gift for Lando Norris would be if Jake Hughes were to make an error now. So there's Callum Eilert. This is the fight for P3. Callum Eilert seeing off for the moment the charge from Tadazuke Makino. And Lando Norris then throwing everything at it now in the final stages of this race to try and get on terms with Jake Hughes. As both Alex and I have said, it's all very well being on the back of Jake Hughes. You've got to try and find a way past as well. So can Lando Norris make it 2 out of 2 this weekend thus far? There's one thing preventing him doing that at the moment, and that is the High-Tech GP car of Jake Hughes, which is leading this race and is going through turn 8 now. The turn that's taken absolutely flat, that little kink on the back straight as you head towards the chicane now. Braking by Hughes, braking by Norris. Both of them very cleanly through that turn, neither of them taking too much curb, unsettling the balance of the car on the exit. Callum Eilert takes quite a lot of curb going in, running quite wide coming out. So where are we at now? It's under a second.
0.9 seconds. So again, Lando Norris was 2/10 faster, excuse me, in the last lap than Jake Hughes. So the gap is decreasing.
If this comes to pass, it will be a remarkable drive from Lando Norris, because it will almost be textbook, won't it? Where he's left it right to the very last minute and preserved everything just to give him the additional grip, perhaps right at the end of the race, which will see him potentially superior to Jake Hughes. But at the moment, Hughes is leading this race, and he's not yielding other than he's certainly not making any mistakes at the moment. He knows that Lando Norris is getting ever closer.
Yeah, another 1.5 tenths on the good for Lando Norris, so now the gap must be around, yeah, we see now the gap live, 0.823 tenths between Jake Hughes and Lando Norris. You see the difference on speed on the corner for Lando Norris. You can even notice a little bit from here how much speed is firing into that chicane compared to Jake Hughes.
Here's Callum Eilert then in P3, who's fending off the charge from Tadasuke Makino. And Ralph Aron is getting just a little bit closer to Makino now. So as they cross the timing line, the clock counts down to 0, which means we have 2 laps left. That's 2 laps for Lando Norris to try and wrestle away the lead from Jake Hughes, who's led the race from the start and really has not put a foot wrong. But Lando Norris just appears to have conserved everything in the car so that this last chance dash can happen for him and he can try a charge on Jake Hughes. So 6 tenths the margin between the two of them. Lando Norris, who took the win in race 1. Jake Hughes, who of course was P2 in race 1. The roles reversed at the moment. It's P1 and P2 that you're watching here, with 2 laps of this 3.629 kilometer Nürburgring sprint circuit. As they make their way down the back straight now, has Jake Hughes got enough to be able to fend off Lando Norris for, well, what remains of this lap and one more? But certainly, one thing is for sure, Lando Norris is harrying him now. Here comes Callum Eilert, who, for my money, has seen off the charge from Tadasuke Makino for the threat of his 3rd place being taken away. The margin remains at 6 tenths as they cross the timing line now. So Jake Hughes then brakes, so too does Lando Norris, and in every single wheel track of the car ahead, Lando Norris is there, filling the rear view mirrors of Jake Hughes. What pressure this must be for the driver of the number 34 car to know that the fighting force that is Lando Norris is right on your tail and just wanting for you to make just the tiniest of errors, and that's all it would take, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's still not as close as to try any kind of overtaking maneuver, but he can just forward the error of Jake Hughes. But I think it will be really hard. I mean, it's only now 3 corners to go, the chicane and the Coca-Cola corner. Also, Jake Hughes is a pretty experienced driver.
Has driven very, very well in race 1 and also in this race as well through the NGK chicane. It is only the Coca-Cola turn now. Jake Hughes should be able to seal this. Lando Norris has a last look at the inside line, but he's not going to be close enough to be able to do anything. So Jake Hughes will take the win from Lando Norris, who takes P2. Callum Eilert should round the Coca-Cola turn to take P3. Having seen off the attempt by Tadasuke Makino, who takes P4. Ralph Aron is P5. Ferdinand Habsburg is P6. We await Joey Mawson, Harrison Newey, Joel Eriksson, and it will be Gian Daravala that will take the final points-paying position as the cars round the Coca-Cola turn then. But crucially, as you see, the all-pink car round at the final turn and head for the timing line. It's P12 for Maximilian Günther. What does that mean? No points.
No points again, so this makes his championship contention even harder now. Must be something. It's strange to see such a low performance from Maxi Günther. I mean, he's a really good driver, and we've seen really amazing race from him and really good pace from the German driver in the first half of the season. While this weekend he's struggling to find the pace somehow.
Let me ask a question. You, as an experienced driver, if your confidence takes a knock and maybe the performance isn't there that you've had before, how hard is that to wrestle that back?
Yeah, it's easy. I mean,
it's easy.
Excuse me. It's it's easy to lose the concentration when you when you are such under pressure. That's why motorsport is not only physical; it's also a mental sport. You need to be really strong mentally to not lose that concentration, to don't lose the focus, to keep always your, like you say, like the motivation and your speed high.
Yeah. Because there are so many things that make up the consistency that you need to be a race winner, aren't there?
For sure. You need it's a lot of small things working together that needs to work together. That the car must be good, the team must be good, you must be good, and everything is fine, and you might be still not even on the pace.
Sure.
So.
But well, it's only conjecture on our part as to why we're. I mean, it might be that the setup is wrong or whatever, But I mean, we're talking about Prema Power Team, one of the most dominant single-seater teams
ever, I would say.
Yeah, no question. So there is something awry, isn't there? So a super shot then as Jake Hughes crosses the line and receives the checkered flag and will be on the top step of the podium. Lando Norris P2, Callum Eilert P3. And it's great for the depth of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship when you see High-Tech GP, Carlin and Prema all there, because of course this is hugely important to a racing driver's career. It's actually hugely important to the teams as well. It's their showcase, it's their advert, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. It's their way to show their performance, their speed.
So congratulations all round. You see Lando Norris walking off. Jake Hughes, there's Callum Eilert congratulating him. Britta there from the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, not wanting to curtail the celebrations, but also trying to hustle the drivers up to towards the podium. So confirmation of the result for race 23. Jake Hughes taking the win from Lando Norris. Callum Eilert P3, Tadazuke Makino P4, then it was Ralph Aron, Ferdinand Habsburg. Joey Mawson, Harrison Newey, Joel Eriksson and Gian Daravala taking the top 10 places. Then the rest of the order you can see on screen there now. So another race to come for the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. That will come right at the end of the race day today. We only lost one car, and that was the Marino Sato car.
It was pretty clean race, pretty clean start.
Yes. Super slow-mos then of the top three, and P3 for the Prema Power Team driver, Callum Eilert. P2 goes the way of Lando Norris, the Carlin Motorsport driver. And taking a win in race 23, Jake Hughes. He will be on the top step of the podium. In the Drivers' Championship then, Lando Norris now on 356 points over Maximilian Günther, who of course remains on 302, having not banked a point. Okay, the margin between 356 and 302, it's actually only a couple of wins really, isn't it? I say only. But for Maximilian Günther to take a couple of wins, he needs Lando Norris to fall off the track as well, doesn't he? And not have any points banked. But it can all change, can't it? Very, very quickly.
Yes, exactly, as you said, it can change really quick. You can have 1 or 2 races, but we have also 3 races per weekend.
Yes.
You can have 1 or 2 races not working well, and all of a sudden you see yourself from being 50 points behind to be already in the same points as your opponent, or even 1 or 2 points ahead. So
yeah,
we still have 2 meetings to go. We have 1 race this afternoon for sure, and 2 meetings Red Bull Ring in Hockenheim with 6 races, plus this afternoon 7 races. So everything can happen. We see now Jake Hughes going into the top step of the podium. Well done. Lando Norris getting P2 today. And third and last step of this podium will go on the way of Prema Power Team driver Callum Elliott.
And High-Tech GP representatives, we look at the Prema Power Team. There's Callum's mum right in the middle of the picture, Jane there. Anthem plays out. May I say, as trophy presentations, Arnaud Alois Rivel from Uni Wheels makes the trophy presentation to Jake Hughes. Jake Hughes, nationality, British. Lando Norris, nationality, British. Callum Elliott, nationality, British. What a great advert for the UK.
So you're proud now?
Yeah, very much. Well done, chaps. So, Lando Norris receives his trophy. P2, banking some more valuable points. In fact, banking 18 valuable points. And it's P3 for Callum Elliott. So the Carlin team, the High-Tech GP team, and of course the Prema Power team is Lando Norris tries to find way onto the... Come on, give me a hug here, Jake. Right. Oh, the top is off the bottle. And I have to say, his team were better than he was as a driver with the champagne, Alex.
It's not. He didn't even put the cork out. He just shake the bottle and let the gas of the bottle push the cork.
One of these days, I will tell you about one of Alex Torrill's champagne moments on the podium, but that will come another day. So as the drivers make their way off the podium, here come some highlights.